Donald Trump physically and mentally deteriorating and rotting before our eyes. The bruising and discoloration on his right hand now is on his left hand. And it's even worse than while Donald Trump held a meeting with a group that he called the Board of Peace, which is really the axis of evil, just Trump and a bunch of authoritarian regimes. He basically had to stop for a little bit to put makeup on his hand to cover up the bruising and the discoloration. We'll break it down. Donald Trump continued to break down America's relationship with NATO while in Davos, Switzerland. He continued to attack our allies, mock our allies, and just behave like a complete and utter idiot. And you can see that mental cognitive decline taking place during what may have been the worst speech I've ever seen at Davos or on the international stage. Donald Trump continued to confuse Iceland with Greenland. He referred to Greenland as a block of ice as well and said, I need it. And then when the day was over, Donald Trump announced a fake deal that he claimed he entered into with NATO to do something. There was no details regarding Greenland, and he was happy about it. He then leaked out to the press that the U.S. was going to control certain areas in Greenland. It would become sovereign territories of the United States. Well, that was utterly bogus. Denmark said it's rubbish. Greenland had no clue what he was talking about. Mark Rutte, the Secretary General of NATO, said, we don't know what the hell you're talking about. Just another fake and demeaning deal by a demented individual in Donald Trump. Also, we've been seeing more horrifying image of the ICE and Border Patrol Gestapo. They are now using children as bait in order to attack the parents. We saw them use a 5-year-old returning from preschool wearing like a Pokemon cap as bait to lure out the father. Then ICE and Border Patrol Gestapo kidnapped both and moved them to a detention center or concentration camp in Texas. You're also seeing more chemical agents being deployed on the peaceful populations in Minneapolis and St. Paul. We'll break down for you everything that's going there. And Trump relentlessly trying to prosecute our friend Don Lemon as well. We also learned about a whistleblower complaint that was sent to Congress showing that the ICE and Border Patrol Gestapo have ordered their Gestapo on the ground not to follow the Fourth Amendment and to conduct searches and seizures without warrants, to instead use administrative warrants that they basically fill out for themselves and then go into homes without judicial warrants. We'll talk about that. Special Counsel Jack Smith testified on Capitol Hill today. Once again, the MAGA Republicans look so utterly foolish. They were too scared to really even talk about January 6th. They kept on talking about Cassidy Hutchinson the entire time and also didn't mention that she was Mark Meadows' top aide, like she was a top aide in the Trump White House. And they're like, well, what do you think about Cassidy Hutchinson talking about Donald Trump attacking people in the suburban? What do you think about that, Jack Smith? She was on your witness list. Doesn't this show, Jack Smith, that you're not credible? Jack Smith's like, what? Because she was on the witness list? What are you even talking about? Jim Jordan, who doesn't have a bar license, who's not licensed to practice law, who the MAGA's placed to lead the Judiciary Committee. And also, just in a typical Donald Trump day, he's sued J.P. Morgan Chase, he claims, for debanking him. He sued J.P. Morgan Chase for $5 billion. He's threatening to now sue the New York Times or amend one of his millions of lawsuits against journalists and reporters to add claims that the New York Times Siena poll, which shows Donald Trump's approval rating at 40%, Trump says, I don't believe it. That's defamation. I'm suing you for it. The New York Times poll shows that Donald Trump is underwater on basically every issue, from the Epstein files, where he's negative 44 points, to the economy, where he's deeply underwater as well. Donald Trump ranting and raving like a lunatic there. We've got a lot to discuss. Brett and Jordy, this is the MeidasTouch Podcast. Great to see you. What in the world is going on?
What in the world is going on? Indeed, I just got word that Jordy lost power, so it looks like me and you battling against the elements here, but the show does not stop. We keep on going. I'm doing well, Ben. I think, I feel like, every episode we have obviously examples of this, but in the past 24 to 48 hours or so, we've even seen an escalation of just the pure evil of this regime and the pure evil of the party who is propping him up. And we're seeing the ramifications of that evil as it is inflicted on the entire world and as it is inflicted here on the American people. It's complete and total disgrace. I am looking forward to speaking about it, talking about just the horrifying things we did. We broke a big story here at the MeidasTouch Network earlier when we noticed immediately when the White House posted an image of one of the protesters who entered a church in Minneapolis, posted a picture after arresting this protester, and they used artificial intelligence to edit the image in order to make it appear like she was crying, in order to make it appear that she was distressed and had tears streaming down her face. I mean, the stuff we're dealing with right now is just super sick. We'll go into it in more detail at some point, probably, but I'll just show you this image. This is the image that the White House posted as people are seeing it here. As I describe for audio listeners, you see she looks like she's in distress as she's being arrested by the officer, tears streaming down her face. We immediately, our team said, this picture does not look right. Let me see if we could find if this was AI. There's something about it. Sure enough, we found the original photo that was posted by Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem that shows she is making no such face. And this is just one of so many examples of how deceitful this regime is, as to how evil this regime is, to how this regime does not care at all about justice or following the law or doing right by the American people. They just want to cause terror. That is their goal. And we got Jordy back. This is super exciting. And so we got to talk about this. We need to continue to keep our eyes open for other deceptive tactics just like this one, because this is how they use their propaganda to inflict pain on the American people. One thing we talked about here, on the show repeatedly is how, just thinking back to the days where people assumed that all this access to information, the internet, all of this would actually lead people to be more educated, help people be more informed. But what we've seen is that these technologies have actually just been weaponized by authoritarians to brainwash people, to fool people, to put so much information out there that people can't even understand what is real and what is fake. And that's what this White House is relying upon when they do things like this. It's 1984 taken to levels that we could not have even imagined a few years ago. We're going to speak about this and more. Excited to have Jordy back in the house. Jordy, what's the latest?
What's up, brothers? What's up, Midas Mighty? Yeah, that was where my power went out right when we started the show. So I'm back. I'm happy to be here. Brothers, Midas Mighty. When we're seeing all of these events unfold, whether it's the Republican, congressional folks going after Jack Smith in the manner that they did today, or the Trump regime doctoring photos, Brett, of that woman that you showed as she was being arrested, it's really just like, I take a step back and I just think to myself, this isn't even political. It's truly just not like, it's just a matter of good versus evil at this point, because you can't tell me that what I'm seeing with my own eyes and seeing how these MAGA, lunatics are behaving is appropriate, is what we want out of government, is what we want out of our leaders. And it's really disheartening to see. And just from just the baseline of, is this the right thing? Is like, are we trying to help people here, or are we just trying to smear good folks for no reason? And time again, what I see is Trump and the MAGA regime taking that route of just smearing folks, just lying on people, just making up whatever narrative that they want to see. The propaganda coming out of the regime right now is eye-opening. Like true propaganda. When you show that video, Brett, that's the only word that comes to my mind is the story that's actually happening, and also then the story that they want their followers, their lemmings, to then parrot. It's truly crazy. I'm excited to get into the show tonight. Benji, where are we starting off?
Well, just talk about that for an example, right? You have a reporter or someone, Libby Dean, she goes, during his World Economic Forum remarks, Donald Trump appeared to mix up Greenland and Iceland around 3 times. Caroline Levitt, Donald Trump's chief propagandist, goes, no, he didn't, Libby. His written remarks referred to Greenland as a piece of ice because that's what it is. You're the only one mixing anything up here. Okay, I mean, look, we have the videotape. We saw that Donald Trump repeatedly was calling Greenland Iceland. There was a point where he also, in calling Greenland Iceland, said that it is a piece of ice. But on multiple occasions, Donald Trump talked about wanting to acquire and take over Iceland. Like, we have the tapes. So Here's one of those tapes. Then I'll play you another one. But let's just play it so we can all say, hey, Caroline, you are a liar. But like they lie about the most brazen things. Like we hear him. Here, play this clip.
Decades. But the problem with NATO is that we'll be there for them 100%. But I'm not sure that they'd be there for us. If we gave them the call, gentlemen, we are being attacked. We're under attack by such and such a nation. I know them all very well. I'm not sure that they'd be there. I know we'd be there for them. I don't know that they'd be there for us. So with all of the money we expend, with all of the blood, sweat, and tears, I don't know that they'd be there for us. They're not there for us on Iceland, that I can tell you. I mean, our stock market took the first dip yesterday because of Iceland. So Iceland's already cost us a lot of money. But that dip is peanuts compared to what it's gone up. And we have an unbelievable future in that.
Then he said it again and said it is a piece of ice, but he says Iceland again as well. Let's play that other one, Brett.
But in doing it, I'm helping Europe, I'm helping NATO, and I've until the last few days when I told them about Iceland, they loved me. They called me daddy, right, last time. A very smart man said, he's our daddy. He's running it. I was like running it. I went from running it to being a terrible human being. But now what I'm asking for is a piece of ice, cold and poorly located, that can play a vital role in world peace and world protection.
Okay, so you heard him. There were so many disgusting things that were said there as well, which I'll address. Number one, when he says NATO won't be there for us, the only country that's ever invoked Article 5 of NATO is the United States, and the NATO nations were there with the United States, particularly Denmark. Danish soldiers had more deaths per capita fighting alongside American troops in Afghanistan than any country, but our NATO troops fought with us in the United States. They died on the front lines, and that's just straight up defamation by Donald Trump against our NATO allies, and it's utterly despicable. Then, Donald Trump saying, they call me daddy. They call me daddy. Again, he's speaking at the World Economic Forum, and he looks so utterly insane during that whole entire process. And then referring to Greenland, a proud country, as a poorly located block of ice, which he refers to as Iceland, is one of the most degrading and horrible things to describe a country also that you want to take over and acquire. It's so utterly offensive. So you have Caroline Leavitt saying he didn't say those things. Well, we heard him say those things. Also, so everyone watching here, and for those in audio listeners, I'm showing where Caroline Leavitt says he never confused Iceland and Greenland. Then regarding Donald Trump's hand, what Caroline Leavitt is saying is that, so at first Donald Trump's right hand was just completely bruised and discolored. And remember, she said that was caused by the handshakes. Now she's out there saying that his left hand, by the way, his left hand looks way worse than the right hand looked, and the right hand looked horrible. But now they're saying, oh, he knocked into the edge of a table, and because he's taking lots of aspirin every day, that when you take lots of aspirin and you bunk into tables, that's what happens to your hand. No, I mean, I think one of the things it looks like an IV injection puncture site with edema and bruising, consistent with IV infiltration. This is an opinion. Let me be very clear. But I can assure you that when someone says that the right hand looked that way from shaking hands, and the left hand looks that way from knocking into a table when he was speaking with this access of evil that he calls the board of peace, that's not what is happening. Like, stop gaslighting and lying to us like that. But then the Trump regime will do things like they'll make an announcement and say, Belgium has joined the board of peace. And then Belgium will put out a statement like, no, we haven't joined that. Okay, the countries that stood with Donald Trump in Davos were like Pakistan, Qatar, Belarus, though Russia wasn't there. Russia is part of Donald Trump's axis of evil that he calls the board of peace. Bahrain, Indonesia, Uzbekistan, no NATO allies, no one from Europe. no Australia, no Canada. This is what the United States has become under the Trump regime. And then Donald Trump goes out there and Donald Trump says, after saying all those horrible things that you just heard him say, we're going to take over Greenland. We're going to take over. It's ours. It's ours. Trump announces that he did a deal on social media. He just writes it. We did a big deal with Greenland. He said we did a deal with NATO. And then NATO says, and then no, the deal, I won't reveal the terms, but we've reached a framework to talk about a future deal with Greenland and Denmark. And NATO has assured me it's going to be great. Trump just made this up. None of that happened. Greenland didn't agree to anything. Denmark didn't agree to anything. The NATO commanders, I mean, we've heard from the NATO commander in that region who said NATO was never briefed on any deal that was made around this at all. It was just completely made up. And then the Trump regime leaks things about it like, oh, well, actually what the deal is, it's going to give the United States sovereignty over its bases within Greenland, and we'll control certain territory within Greenland. That's news to Greenland. That's news to Denmark. And that's news to NATO because that was never even discussed with Donald Trump at all.
And here's my thing, Ben, that I want to add here. If you're a media organization and Donald Trump says we made a deal, you don't have to make your headline Donald Trump made a deal, okay? Or a concept of a deal, whatever it is. You don't have to follow this bullshit because if you've covered Donald Trump for even a day, you understand that this is his move. And this is especially his move when that he views that he needs an out of something. He needs to weasel his way out of something because Donald Trump's back was against the wall. And I want to give a shout out to Canada. I want to give a shout out to Europe. I want to give a shout out to all the nations who stood strong up to the United States and said, get the hell off our back, respect our sovereignty, and stop acting like a dictator. And Donald Trump, and especially all the other moves they did, right? Getting rid of like kind of the pension funds that affected, U.S. bonds, the trade bazooka that was threatened against the United States, all of the other sort of trade partnerships that these European countries and Canada were undertaking to further isolate the United States, the U.S. stock market crashing because of all this and because of Donald Trump's moves. His back was against the wall, and Donald Trump does not like to look like a loser. So he comes up with a fake win. He says, I have a deal. Here's the deal, everybody. I'm going to call off those tariffs that made the market tank. I'm going to call off all this craziness because I got a deal and this is going to be great. So your job as a media entity isn't to go, Donald Trump got a deal, everybody. No, it's to say that this is his out. It's to call out the scam, to call out the fraud. He's a con man. He was adjudicated as a con man. Everyone knows this man is a fraud and he perpetually commits various frauds upon the American people and upon the world. So call this crap out and do not give him the headlines. Obviously, you're going to have those right-wing entities like Fox, right? And other right-wing entities that are going to try to spike the football and are going to try to create this narrative because that is straight up state regime media. Their goal is to prop up the regime no matter what Donald Trump does. They're not meant to be a check on power. They're meant to be a mouthpiece of the regime in order to spread this propaganda. But that makes it that much more important for the other press out there to get their stuff together and to actually tell these stories correctly and make sure the American people are informed. What we did here at MeidasTouch is we quickly reached out to sources who were based in Denmark, were based in Greenland, people who had ties to these areas, former ambassadors, and asked them questions about this deal. And they all said that the whole thing was BS and that Greenland was never contacted. And then finally this morning, there were stories, oh, there's no deal actually. Denmark and Greenland actually say that nothing's happening here. Yes, yes, that's exactly. Don't buy this guy's con is my main message and stop falling for it. And good on these European countries, by the way, for saying, hell nah, I'm not joining your board of peace. And what an embarrassment for, Caroline Levitt to continuously lie and say, oh, Belgium's joining. And then they have to be like, no, we're not. No, we're not. You could be there with Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates and Uzbekistan and Pakistan. Like, enjoy your new friends, United States. We got our own thing going now.
Absolutely. The thing, too, is Donald Trump has never given you a reason to take him at his word, whether it was every business that he has ever bankrupted or just seemingly any time he opens his mouth, he is lying. That is just the fact of the matter here. And so for corporate media to take Donald Trump again and again. It's like a Lucy pulling the football away from Charlie Brown. Yeah, that's a good analogy on this one. But corporate media, it knows what's going to happen. And they're like, take the football away and let me fall to the ground again. It's insane to me that they just won't call him out for this BS. And I think it's because they're scared, quite frankly, of losing access. They're scared of losing their access to the White House for the interviews and for the Q&As or Air Force One to ask Trump questions there. That shouldn't be what media is. It just shouldn't be. At its core, and look, I'm not just rallying against, media for the sake of it. I think it's vital to have a strong fourth estate here in this country. I think it is so crucial now more than ever. And that's why I'm just looking for good media. That's why I'm looking for people to actually ask legitimate questions and not just parrot Caroline Leavitt's talking points and put it in a headline and make it all pretty. Get to the bottom of the issue. Just stop giving them these like weirdo wins because you don't actually want to do the work or you're scared you're going to get called the name in a Truth Social post, Ben.
One thing too, though, and it's California Governor Gavin Newsom would say that Donald Trump is weakness masquerading as strength. But I think Newsom has since pivoted away from that and just said it's just weakness. And when Donald Trump is in a room with the person that he's been mocking, Donald Trump behaves differently than when he leaves, and then he goes on his social media and then starts making all of these posts, right? So the whole time Donald Trump's been posting, Gavin Newsom this, Newsom that, all of these horrible things about Newsom. Newsom shows up and attends Donald Trump's speech. And Newsom was there at Davos, actually behaving like a statesman or a statesperson, representing what America could be, basically a shadow president there. So Donald Trump, you're in front of the world right now, right? You have Newsom standing right there, a guy who you've called new scum, who your entire regime has been attacking all throughout Davos. Well, he's there. He's right in front of you. So what are you going to say about the guy who you've been calling scum? Because he's right there, Donald. So, all right, tough guy, let's see how it goes down. Let's play it.
We can do that all over. We're going to help the people in California. We want to have no crime. I know Gavin was here. I used to get along so great with Gavin when I was president. Gavin's a good guy. And we're going to, if he needed it, I would do it in a heartbeat. I'd love to see. We did help them a lot in Los Angeles, a lot with the early in my term when they had some problems. But we would love to do it. I will say this, if I were a Democrat governor or whatever, I would call up Trump. I'd say, come on in, make us look good, because we're cutting crime down to nothing. And we're taking people out.
So California Governor Gavin Newsom, for those on audio, looks at Trump as Trump saying that, like, this is like a crazy person. This person's insane. Donald Trump goes, Gavin is a good guy. But see, that's the thing. Like, and I have zero respect for Donald Trump in general, about every aspect of his behavior. But like, if you're going to commit to the shtick, like when the guy's right in front of you, if you're Mr. Tough Guy, then don't you go Newsom, right? Well, don't you? He's right there. You're not going to say it to his face. You're just going to go back and then go, oh, what should I type? What should I type?
He is the definition. Donald Trump is the definition, Ben, of a keyboard warrior.
Right?
Too scared to say.
Let me say this about this. Let me say this about this Trump regime quickly, and sorry if I cut you off, Jordy. If you want to say anything else, let me know. But I just want to say a government should lead with do no harm, and it should frankly be better than that. It should be help the people and ensure that they're safe and secure and all of those things. And Donald Trump, in that whatever the hell you call whatever the freak that was. Donald Trump, was talking about how he went into Los Angeles, how he helped California so much, yada, yada, yada. Me and Ben are here in Los Angeles. I'm sure we have a lot of listeners. I know we have a lot of listeners in Los Angeles. There was no riots, chaos, fires. All the things that Donald Trump did when he came here were pointless and only stoked more tension and more violence. And we've seen Donald Trump do this everywhere he goes. This entire regime does this everywhere they go. They do this in Minneapolis. They do this in Greenland. They do this everywhere. This is their move. They go in there. They cause chaos. They cause the problem. They are the problem. To me, it should just be there's a very simple litmus test as to whether the government should be doing what it's doing. And that's, if the government right now, if these ICE agents who are terrorizing people in Minneapolis, if all these federal agents throughout the country right now, if they went home, if they left, if they got the hell out and stopped terrorizing people, and that would make everything calm and everything would be peaceful and there'd be no tensions and there'd be no violence and there'd be no chaos, that means that they are the cause of that chaos. That means they are the cause of the violence. That means that they are the problem. So get the hell out. It's very clear. When Donald Trump came to Los Angeles, they were the problem. Those officers were the problem. Those people who were in Los Angeles were the problem. Donald Trump interfering with the fire response, he made things worse. And you never want to make things worse. But Donald Trump's whole thing is stoke the flames, make sure that things are as chaotic as possible so that he could create a pretext to do whatever the hell he wants. It's just crazy. It's an abusive government. It's the actions of an abuser. And it's no surprise that this government is led by an abuser and a party of abusers and people who protect sexual predators. Because this is their MO. This is what they do. This is what they're good at. It's the only thing they're good at.
And as part of that predator conduct, it's relentless, right? The way Donald Trump is with Greenland, it's like a sociopath who you need a restraining order against, right? I want it, I need it, I want it, I need it. It's a piece of ice, I need it, I want it, I love it, I need it, I hate it, I hate it, I need it, I need it, I need it. It's like, so the only way you can stand up to that is forcefully. Like there's no other way to do it. Like you have to assert yourself, even if it's selfishly. You can't appease that because it's just nonstop. I need it, I need it, I need it, I need it. You got to be like, and you got to push back strong. And I hope the world is realizing that right now. That was one of the message that Newsom was delivering there is you got to push back strong. He's saying this as an American, you got to push back and hit back strong against the regime. So when we come back, I want to talk more about Donald Trump's fake deal and what he said this fake deal is about. I want to talk about how state regime media tried to prop up that fake deal and say, this is amazing. This is promising. So what's promising? A fake deal? What are you talking about? And then I want to cue in on what's going on with the ICE and Border Patrol invasions, their attempts to prosecute Lemon and go after protesters, gas protesters, terrorizing communities, using 5-year-old children as bait. Talk about that and a lot, of course, the cover-up of the Epstein files. A lot to discuss. Let's take our first quick break of the show. A reminder to everybody, make sure you hit subscribe on our YouTube channel. You may think you're subscribed, but you may not actually be subscribed. So double check, hit subscribe to the MeidasTouch audio podcast. If you just watch on YouTube, audio listeners, subscribe on YouTube. Go check out store.MeidasTouch.com to get that MeidasTouch gear. And you can wear that gear now, store.MeidasTouch.com, and check out our Substack, MeidasPlus.com. Let's take our first quick break of the show.
My cat hears the news every morning with me, and honestly, she handles it much better than I do. Probably because she starts her day with Smalls. It's 2026. Do you still feed your cat like it's 1926? This podcast is sponsored by Smalls. For a limited time, get 60% off your first order plus free shipping when you head to smalls.com/Meidas. Smalls cat food is protein-packed recipes made with preservative-free ingredients you'd find in your fridge, and it's delivered right to your door. That's why Cats.com named Smalls their best overall cat food. Starting with Smalls is easy. Just share info about your cat's diet, health, and food preferences. Then Smalls puts together a personalized sampler for your cat. No more picking between random brands at the store. Smalls has the right food to satisfy any cat's cravings. My cat Chubbs loves Smalls. I literally did a taste test. I put her food, her old food, next to the Smalls food side by side, and she chose Smalls every time. Still not a believer in Smalls? Forbes ranked Smalls the best overall cat food, while BuzzFeed said, my cats went completely ballistic for this stuff. My cat's breath, by the way, is much better, and their fur is much softer ever since I switched to Smalls. This year's winter coat has been so soft and healthy. After switching to Smalls, 88% of cat owners reported overall health improvements. That's a big deal. And the team at Smalls is so confident that your cat will love their product that you can try it risk-free. That means they will refund if your cat won't eat their food. Make 2026 your cat's healthiest year yet. Take advantage of their New Year's special and get 60% off your first order plus free shipping when you head to smalls.com/Meidas. One last time, that's 60% off your first order plus free shipping when you head to smalls.com/Meidas. Your credit score may have taken a big hit over the holidays and you may not even know it. Sure, a late payment hurts, but so does opening a store credit card just to get a discount, and transferring a balance from one card to another, that can drop your score fast. So if you're thinking about refinancing, buying a new car, renting an apartment, anything that requires credit, you need your best possible score and you need it fast. You need Smart Credit, the new science in credit scoring. Smart Credit's data experts understand how the credit bureaus operate. They build a personalized strategy designed to take action and maximize your score, not by a few points in a few months, but potentially see a real upward change to secure better rates on everything you finance. Better scores could mean faster approvals, lower payments, and more money in your pocket. Don't let holiday spending traps derail your entire year. Get ahead of it now with Smart Credit. Go to smartcredit.com/Meidas and start your 7-day trial for just $1. Your results will depend on your unique credit profile, but I think you'll be excited to see how many points Smart Credit estimates you can gain. Results not guaranteed. Cancel anytime. That's smartcredit.com/Meidas, smartcredit.com. Let's go. Shout out to our sponsors. Links in description of both the YouTube and the audio. Use the links, use the codes. If there's an exit survey, let them know we sent you. Benji, before I toss back to you, I was visiting mom the other week. I had a great time. When I was there, I bumped into some folks that I went to high school with. And it was at the pizza shop. And let's just say they sent me some pretty nasty texts over the course of these couple of years. And what jogged my memory of this was when we were talking about Trump being a keyboard warrior. And these kids have really said some vile stuff to me. And when I walked into the coffee shop, clocked them immediately. They saw me. You know what they did? Immediately put their heads down and sunk to the side. A lot of keyboard warriors in this life, folks. A lot of keyboard warriors. Stand up for your values, stand up for your beliefs, because integrity, it's everything these days. And those kids, I wish I could say their names right now, but I won't. I'll take the high road. Benji, where to next?
Okay, let's just show you when Donald Trump was asked some questions by Caitlin Collins and others about, well, what was this deal that you claim you entered into with NATO about Greenland and Denmark, even though NATO doesn't have the power to even do that. So are you going to acquire Greenland? Is that part of this? Look at Donald Trump's answer here. Play this clip.
And it's a deal that everybody's very happy with.
Does it still include you? Does it still include the United States having ownership of Greenland like you've said you wanted?
It's a long-term deal. It's the ultimate long-term deal. And I think it puts everybody in a really good position, especially as it pertains to security.
There's no deal. He made this up, which is hard for some people to grasp. So none of it is true. So did Donald Trump even talk to NATO at all about Greenland and acquiring? No. Remember how Jordy just said when he saw those old friends who would say things to him, now they're embarrassed, they put their head down? That's basically what Trump did. Trump did his fake board of peace thing, which is actually the axis of evil, which, by the way, Donald Trump was saying tonight that he gets to lead it for the rest of Trump's life, he says. So even when Trump's out of office, Trump says that he will be the leader of this board that will conduct foreign policy, which again is unlawful and is absolutely ridiculous. But when Donald Trump was there with the Secretary General of NATO, it wasn't even a topic that was brought up. Trump leaves it and then makes up that he has a deal to take over parts of Greenland. This is beyond sociopathic. None of it is true. So Donald Trump is asked by Caitlin Collins. The next follow-up is, how long? How long is this deal? And Trump's like, the infinite deal. It's the infinite deal. Here, play this clip.
How long would the deal be, Mr. President?
Infinite.
Will there speak to Denmark?
There is no time limit. It's forever.
And how would you ratify the deal?
It's signed forever.
But you haven't signed anything yet, right?
It's a deal that's forever.
The guy's just a clown. Like just enough normalize. They can't normalize. What are we talking about? Infinite. Never ends. How are you going to ratify it? Doesn't matter. what are we watching there? Like, do we realize that it's not even to call that crazy or to call that demented doesn't do it justice. It is literally the same as seeing, I don't know, how Donald Trump talks about they let out the people in the mental institutions or whatever. Like, that's you, Donald. I don't want to blame it on serious issues, but he's out of what are you talking about? For life, forever. And Greenland and Denmark and NATO don't know anything about this at all. And the American guy, the commander who leads NATO, doesn't know anything about this either. It's just completely made up. But state regime media known as Fox, Will Cain, he goes, Trump described this as an infinite deal. Here to join us, the former ambassador. I think he brings like a former ambassador to Denmark. So what do we make about this? And then she's like, I'll play the clip for you, but she's just like, well, this may be like the United States' relationship with Puerto Rico, but we don't really know for sure. But this is very promising. Like, this is very promising. What are you talking about? What is promising about this? You have a delusional, demented psychopath in the Oval Office making up fake deals that nobody knows what he's talking about but himself. What is promising about? Like, how do you even do this? Like, truthfully, how does this even exist? How am I even talking about this? Why am I talking about this? Sometimes I think about that, right? And I'm like, what is this? Here, just watch for yourself. Here, play this clip.
So joining me now is former U.S. Ambassador to Denmark and Greenland, Carla Sands. Thanks for being with us here today. I don't know if you have more information than what we've been able to gather so far on the framework of this potential deal. What is your suspicion on President Trump described it as an infinite deal, a big win for all parties, which is an interesting framing considering earlier today he said, who in the hell in their right mind would want to lease or license presence on Greenland?
Yeah, I don't know what he's ended up with. I know that he said unequivocally that we had to own it. And I had thought it would be a COFA, more like a free association, but that's not what that is. So does it look more like our relationship with Puerto Rico? I'm looking forward to learning as much as you are about this new deal, that the framework is in place. But it's really encouraging.
It's really encouraging, she says at the end, but it's really encouraging. This may be like the U.S. and Puerto Rico. Where are you getting that from? Where are you getting that from? You're just making nothing that she's saying or that Will Cain, it's not even tethered to reality. I want to give a hat tip. I'm not going to play the clip here, though, to politics girl Lee McGowan, who's on the MeidasTouch Network. She's channeling all of us. Remember when Scott Jennings was like, why do we even care about the Epstein files? It's just a little bit of non-compliance. And then she's like, a little bit of non-compliance. Just why the hell are you talking like that? It's just a little bit of sex trafficking. Who do we care? Da, 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 da. It's like, what are you talking about? You're covering up child sex trafficking and you're like, don't get all worked up about this. Don't get all worked up about this. It's just enough of this crap.
The exact quote by Scott Jennings is even where let's not get our knickers in a twist is what about the Epstein files and the cover up of a child sex trafficking ring. But, I think when we look at all this stuff, you look at Fox, that's a multi-billion-dollar operation that's designed in order to push state regime talking points. Social media apps like X, that's a multi-billion-dollar operation and algorithm in order to push particular talking points, to try to brainwash the American people. And I believe that these platforms have made our country very sick. Because in a healthy country, in a healthy nation, we would run these people the hell out of this country. We would not accept this BS. I know our viewers don't accept this BS, but in a normal country, it would be like 96% of the country not accepting this BS, not just like 75% of the country or 70% of the country wanting to run these people out. But it would be like 95, 96%. These people are they're lunatics. And it really is a battle of good versus evil. And we'll get to like the Jack Smith of it all later, but you really just see the evilness on display and their desire to constantly rewrite history and and to try to shift the narrative and to try to just outright lie to people in order to create their own version of reality. They took that concept from Trump's first term with Kellyanne Conway when she called it alternative facts, and they made that their MO. They made that their whole shtick. We're just, okay, reality sucks for us. We're not very good at governing. We're not very good at anything. We cause terror. Everybody would actually hate us in any sort of normal world. So we got to create our own reality. We got to pump all this money into these networks, these social media apps. We need to brainwash the people the way dictatorships have brainwashed their people for decades, but use these new tools like artificial intelligence and algorithms, social media, use all of these tools not to inform people, but use them as weapons and point them at the American people. And just the amount of people you see on these social media apps, many of whom are probably bots and stuff, by the way, I'm sure, but a lot of real people behind these accounts as well that defend this crap on a daily basis. Oh, it's funny that they did AI of the lady. It's funny that they, no, it's not. It's not funny. And by the way, if you actually cared about justice, then you wouldn't want the White House to do that. If you actually wanted this person to be arrested, you wouldn't give prejudicial information to the public that could affect your case and blow up your entire case and hand the defense an instant out for your BS case to begin with. You wouldn't want that. So I know you don't care about the facts. I know you don't care about truth or justice or democracy or the United States of America. You just want to be in your little cult and you just want to spread your little cult BS. And that's it. You don't care about the country. You don't care about anybody except yourself. And it's honestly a shame. And you brought shame to this country, to the United States, and you have shamed the United States in front of the world. And I don't understand how these people live with themselves. They're like sick, honestly, sickos.
They're absolutely sick, Brett. And it's just like the entire MAGA ilk too. You're talking about the folks who, about that photo who are like, oh, that's hilarious. Isn't comedy back, you lib? You should be laughing at that. It's like, you're all the same people that wear the Don't Tread on Me shirts that are now cheering on government going into cities and shooting women. That's what you're cheering. The Don't Tread on Me folks love government. They love big government, actually, because that's what y'all are saying. That's what you want, isn't it? The reality, Brett, that Fox News and all of these like really radical, these right-leaning entities have created this own reality that they could pay for because they are so well funded with the billions and honestly trillions of dollar ecosystem that could just rot the brains of Americans. There is a bit of me that genuinely feels bad for a lot of the country of how they could get deceived when it's a multi-billion dollar, multi-trillion dollar operation that is set on your phone, on your laptop. You can't avoid it. You cannot escape it. Like we were talking about with the internet earlier, Brett, no matter where you go, it's just so prevalent. And it was supposed to be, I think, used for good. At least that was the common thought, but it's now being used in so many manipulative ways that I could understand like how someone that maybe doesn't have great family ties, that maybe isn't super well educated, or maybe is and just gets it just so just in front of their face so frequently and so heavily, gets brainwashed and manipulated by this stuff. But at the end of the day, right, we're all playing by the same set of rules. And so we see this stuff too. You have to be able to take the step back as a person, I'm saying, and be like, this isn't okay. This is not okay. And snap yourself out of it at the same time. What the Trump regime is doing right now, it is so morally bankrupt. That's the word that just keeps coming back to my mind. Morally bankrupt. This entire administration, morally friggin' bankrupt.
When Brett and Jordy are talking about the manipulated photos, for those just kind of joining now, they're talking about the photo that was posted of Nikema Levi Armstrong, and she was the leader of the protest at the St. Paul church, where protesters went in to protest someone who worked at the church who allegedly was working for ICE or was an informant for ICE at that church. And so Kristi Noem posts a photo of Nikema Armstrong and notice that the officer's face is blurred, but her face isn't blurred. And she's not crying. I mean, she's just been arrested and she's standing up for her. She's, standing up on her rights. And
by the way, she's a civil rights attorney. I hear she is as tough as nails, as tough as it gets. And so that was also one of the ththings I think that set a lot of people off this morning when they showed the photo, saying she would never be crying in this situation.
And then, we reported it first on the MeidasTouch that I'm like, because the moment I saw this, I was like, yeah, they AI'd that. And we did a report on it right away. Then the White House did an AI image of her crying hysterically. a totally fabricated image. And by the way, she's going to go into court with her lawyer now, and she's going to say, this is a vindictive prosecution. Look at what they did. And there's going to be a finding of vindictiveness. And then the Trump regime's going to whine and say, the judges are against us. They're weaponized in Minneapolis. No, you posted that. You're supposed to behave like adults. You're supposed to follow the DOJ guidelines and rules and the constitutional rights that people have. And when you posted that, first off, to me, this whole prosecution is bogus to begin with, in my legal opinion. But setting aside that, then you do this. And then, of course, Nakima's going to do a vindictive prosecution, and it's going to be granted. And then they go, oh, my God, how did that happen? Same thing by all these right-wing people. They want Don Lemon to be prosecuted. Prosecute Don Lemon. Prosecute Don Lemon. And then you have one of the top people in the DOJ repost a Polymarket, a betting market account that says DOJ arrests 2 suspects in connection with the storming of a Minnesota church. Don Lemon potentially implicated for KKK Act violations. 36% chance he's criminally charged. Then like the top 3 person at the DOJ goes, 3 now arrested. And as Adam Klasfeld, who does a lot of work with our network, writes, the head of Trump's DOJ Civil Rights Division boosts prediction markets, placing 36% odds that she'll be able to prosecute Don Lemon for his journalism after federal magistrate judge found no probable cause of a crime. The DOJ went to a magistrate judge to try to get Lemon arrested today. They're not trying to go through an indictment process where they have to go before a grand jury. So they try to get a magistrate to just sign off on it. And this magistrate said, I'm not going to sign off on it. So the DOJ starts doxing the magistrate's wife and say, oh, well, the magistrate's wife works at the attorney general's office, which, by the way, would be perfectly. How do you think lawyers meet each other? They often meet each other in law school. How do they, husband and wives, they often find each other in law school. It's not shocking that a judge would be married to somebody else who has a job in government. But so they dox the wife, and then they boost a prediction market and manipulate markets potentially about Don Lemon. And so if Don Lemon gets arrested, he's going to say vindictive prosecution as well. And by the way, if you actually look at the FACE Act that they're charging these people with about engaging in threatening physical threats and physical obstructive conduct or other types of violent threats, Don Lemon didn't do that. The only person who touched someone was the guy who worked at the church who touched Lemon. And it's on videotape. And Lemon said, don't touch me. I don't want to be touched by you. I just want to know what your view. Lemon asked him what your view is about people protesting here. Do you think they have a right to do it? And the guy who worked at the church was like, this is a house of God. We just want to pray. But this is a house for all people of God. And Lemon was like, so wouldn't that mean like the immigrant population as well? Shouldn't we be protecting that population? And that's why I want to talk about J.D. Vance going to Minnesota. And again, doing more of the regime gaslighting here. But I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about it in the context of what needs to be mentioned, which is ICE using a 5-year-old, Liam Conejo Ramos, as bait for his father. So ICE agents kidnapped this 5-year-old. He's wearing I'm not sure, is that a blue Pokemon hat or a blue whatever hat, teddy bear hat? They kidnapped the 5-year-old. They're holding on to the 5-year-old by the 5-year-old's backpack. A grown ICE agent man is holding on to a 5-year-old that he's just abducted off the streets as the 5-year-old is walking back from preschool. Okay? They take the 5-year-old. They show up at the door. Come out for your 5-year-old. I've kidnapped your son. I've kidnapped your 5-year-old. Then ICE kidnaps the father and the 5-year-old and sends them away to a concentration camp in Texas. That's what's taking place right now on the streets of Minnesota and across this country. Not to mention the fact that you have the head of Border Patrol, Greg Bovino rather, who's out there himself gassing people, this kind of green, noxious, carcinogenic gas they're throwing at the people there. And by the way, if you've done studies on police departments and their use of force, big police departments like Chicago PD and others, they've never used this gaseous, toxic, carcinogenic substance ever as a form of force to be used on people. ICE just sprays it on people. And I think we're going to learn one day that it's causing cancer and it's causing all of these things. And I think the government's going to pay massive settlements for it, which is the least that they can do for all of this conduct that they're engaging in. And that's happening in plain view. How many thousands of people are going to die that have inhaled this stuff that we learn later on have the things that are equivalent of mesothelioma and things like that? Like, that's what's taking place on our streets right now. So that brings me to J.D. Vance. So J.D. Vance goes into Minnesota, and he tries to be like the rational, calm voice here. I want to talk about J.D. Vance, and I want to talk about much more. But first, I want to take our last quick break of the show. Our producer's saying you got to go to a commercial break. So let's take that last break of the show. A reminder, make sure you subscribe to the MeidasTouch YouTube channel. You may think you're subscribed, but you may not actually be subscribed. So hit subscribe now if you can. Also, if you watch on YouTube, subscribe to our audio podcast. So wherever you download audio podcasts, just search MeidasTouch. Even if you don't plan on listening it on audio, you never know, but that helps us with the algorithm. So subscribe there as well. Also, we're going to be launching the Aaron Parnas podcast on the MeidasTouch network audio podcast. So that's a great addition. So stay tuned for news about that. Hint, hint, there may be a soft launch of it that's taking place already, and you may be able to find it, but you may check that out. And go to store.meidastouch.com for Meidas gear and check out our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. Last break of the show, I want to talk about what J.D. Vance said. I want to talk about Donald Trump's disastrous polling, Donald Trump threatening to sue the New York Times, and Jack Smith. Take our last quick break of the show.
Ever wake up sweaty, freezing, or just uncomfortable? The temperature in your bedroom can make or break your sleep. That's why I switched to Miracle Made sheets. They're inspired by NASA technology and use silver-infused temperature-regulating fabric to help you sleep perfectly all night long. Miracle Made sheets feel just as good, if not better, than sheets you'd find at a 5-star hotel, but without the steep price tag. Smooth, breathable, and ridiculously comfortable. Thanks to their antibacterial silver technology, Miracle Made sheets stay cleaner and fresher up to 3 times longer than regular sheets. That means fewer odors, fewer wash cycles, and way less laundry. All that hidden bacteria in regular sheets, it can clog your pores and cause breakouts. Miracle Made's antibacterial design helps you sleep cleaner and clearer night after night. Miracle Made sheets are crafted with NASA-inspired silver-infused fabric that helps regulate your body temperature. Hot sleeper, cold sleeper, it doesn't matter. These sheets help keep you in the comfort zone all night long. Upgrade your sleep or give the gift of better rest. Go to trymiracle.com/Meidas to try Miracle Made sheets today. You'll save over 40%, and when you use the promo code Meidas, you'll get an extra 20% off plus a free 3-piece towel set. They make for an amazing gift, and with a 30-day money-back guarantee, there's no risk. That's trymiracle.com/Meidas, code Meidas at checkout. Thanks to Miracle Made for sponsoring this episode.
You know, every new year we say that we're finally going to launch that thing we've been dreaming about, the idea that's been sitting in our notes app, the skill everyone keeps telling us to turn into a business. But the truth is, taking action is what changes everything. January is short. Don't let February show up with the same old story. If 2026 is the year that you rewrite your future, the most powerful move that you could make is to start your business with Shopify. 2026 is the year that you launch your business, the year you transform into an entrepreneur, founder, boss. One powerful move puts your future firmly in your hands. Starting a business with Shopify. Maybe you've got an idea that you can't shake, a craft everyone tells you to sell, a store you've already designed in your head. Well, with Shopify, 2026 is when you finally make it happen. Shopify gives you everything you need to sell online and in person. Millions of entrepreneurs have already made this leap, from household names to first-time business owners just getting started. Shopify gives you all the tools to easily build your dream store. Choose from hundreds of beautiful templates that you can customize to match your brand. Setup is fast with Shopify's built-in AI tools that write product descriptions and headlines and help you edit product photos. Marketing is built in too. Create email and social campaigns that reach customers wherever they scroll. And as you grow, Shopify grows with you. Handle more orders, expand to new markets, and do it all from the same dashboard. dashboard. In 2026, stop waiting and start selling with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/Meidas. Go to shopify.com/Meidas. That's shopify.com/Meidas, MEIDAS. Hear your first this new year with Shopify by your side.
ED is more common than you think and simpler to treat than ever. Through HIMS, you can connect online with a licensed provider to access personalized treatment options discreetly and on your terms. Through HIMS, you can access personalized prescription treatment options for ED if prescribed. HIMS offers access to ED treatment options ranging from personalized products to trusted generics that cost 95% less than brand names if prescribed. You shouldn't have to go out of your way to feel like yourself. HIMS brings expert care straight to you with 100% online access to personalized treatments that put your goals first. This isn't a one-size-fits-all care that forgets you in the waiting room. It's your health and goals put first, with real medical providers making sure that you get what you need to get results. Think of HIMS as your digital front door that gets you back to your old self with simple 100% online access to trusted treatments for ED and more, all in one place. To get simple online access to personalized, affordable care for ED, hair loss, weight loss, and more, visit hims.com/Meidas. That's hims.com/Meidas for your free online visit. hims.com/Meidas. Featured products include compounded drug products, which the FDA does not approve or verify for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription required. See website for details, restrictions, and important safety information. Actual price will depend on product and subscription plan. Shout out to our sponsors, man. Links in the description about the YouTube and the audio. Use the links, use the codes. If there's an exit survey, let them know we sent you. Benji, where to next, big bro?
Where to? Let's go to Minnesota. JD Vance is there. And I guess JD Vance just wants to lie and gaslight the hell out of everybody. And this is just ultimate abuser behavior, right? Like after all of the terror that they've caused the community, JD Vance shows up and he tries to act like, what are we really doing? Let's all just be a little bit reasonable, okay? I've never said that officers should get absolute immunity. Anybody who says such a thing is deranged. No one actually would say that officers like these ICE officers get absolute, or these ICE Gestapo get absolute immunity, okay? What I was just saying is that what I wanted was due process, that's all. But no one ever talked about absolute immunity. So watch what he says first here, and then I'll show you the clip where he said, well, like yesterday, every day he's been saying absolute immunity. But first, let me play the clip from earlier today. Let's play it.
After the Renee Good shooting, sir, the administration seemed to suggest...
Yeah, well, you can go next.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
thought you pointed it
No,
out.
that's fine. I'll take both.
After the Renee Good shooting, sir, the administration seemed to... After the Renee Good shooting, the administration seemed to suggest that ICE officers enjoyed near complete immunity. But today you told the Washington Examiner that when appropriate, the administration might take disciplinary actions against ICE agents. So is that a change of opinion? And if so, why the change in tone?
No, I didn't say, and I don't think any other official within the Trump administration said that officers who engaged in wrongdoing would enjoy immunity. That's absurd. What I did say is that when federal law enforcement officers violate the law, that is typically something that federal officials would look into. We don't want these guys to have kangaroo courts. We want them to actually have real due process, real investigation, because again, sometimes they're accused of wrongdoing, and it turns out when you learn the context, they didn't actually do anything.
Oh, okay. Well, so when you said that they get absolute immunity the other day, that didn't happen. Okay, got it, JD. Got it. Here, play this clip.
The precedent here is very simple. You have a federal law enforcement official engaging in federal law enforcement action. That's a federal issue. That guy's protected by absolute immunity. He was doing his job. The idea that Tim Walz and a bunch of radicals in Minneapolis are going to go after and make this guy's life miserable because he was doing the job that he was asked to do is preposterous.
Where would anybody get this idea that he said absolute immunity? Where would one have ever got that idea from? But then JD Vance says, look, all we're trying to do here, why is ICE and Border Patrol here? We're trying to get the pedos off the street. That's it. We just need some help. There are some sex offenders here. We all don't like sex offenders, right? So that's all we've been trying to accomplish. So we have to go after them. It's the pedos. And we're being blocked. So just help us find the pedos and we'll be cool. So why is there resistance to that? Here, play this clip.
Specific types of cooperation that we need. Look, I don't need Tim Walz or Jacob Frey or anybody else to come out and say that they agree with J.D. Vance or Donald Trump on immigration. I just don't need that. What I do need them to do is empower their local officials to help our federal officials out in a way where this can be a little bit less chaotic and it can be a little bit more targeted. Like if we're trying to find a sex offender, tell us where the guy lives.
That's just authoritarianism 101, right? They're launching special operations to find the sex offenders. And why are you stopping us from doing that? No one would stop you from finding sex offenders. You know how that's normally done? Cooperation between the FBI and local law enforcement that form these strike units together and cooperate jointly in these task force to go after trafficking, drugs, cartels. If they wanted to increase resources to federal state task forces for the purposes of doing that, all the state governors are okay with that. That has happened before, and it should happen again. But notice that they go there. Why? Because they're sociopaths. And as sociopaths, they frame the arguments in ways that sociopaths do. We're just going after
Ben,
the pedos.
I just want to call this out also because you brought this up before, and this is usually their go-to also, right? Oh, you don't want us to investigate sex trafficking. Oh, that's what you're doing. Oh, wow. I can't believe you wouldn't want us to get the pedos off the street, dude. Check 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue first of all. I think you'll find plenty right there to start. But moving beyond that point, everyone's demanding you release the Epstein files. You're doing everything you can to cover it up. You've released less than 1% of the Epstein files. At every opportunity where you could release more, you've refused to. Everything has been shrouded in secrecy and deceit. You fought in the courts saying that no courts have the right to make you release the files. I mean, it's very clear what you guys are covering up there, and everything, quite literally the way J.D. Vance argues both on the internet and in moments like that is he creates a straw man that no one is arguing against. And then he forcefully argues against this point that nobody's talking about. There's nobody saying to him, no, we don't want you to go after the sex offenders, save the sex offenders. But he tries to recenter the conversation on maybe don't shoot mothers in the face. Maybe you shouldn't be able to do that with impunity. How about that? And he tries to recenter the conversation to say, these people don't want us to go after sex offenders. How dare you? No one's talking about that. That's how he reframes the arguments all the time. It's his only rhetorical move when it comes to arguments with J.D. Vance is doing that. And then I think we should mention just, quickly while we're on the topic of ICE, this leaked memo that is out there right now from a whistleblower, which is really horrifying. And this is honestly perhaps one of the most important leaks that we've seen come from a Trump administration. And I say a Trump administration because I'm including the first one as well. This leaked document is a bombshell. And I'll just explain kind of briefly what it is. There was an ICE whistleblower, and they revealed the existence of this internal memo that authorizes ICE officers to break into people's homes without a judicial warrant. Now, the government's own training documents themselves at the Department of Homeland Security say that this is unconstitutional. And so, and it's a clear violation of the Fourth Amendment. I mean, we have a Fourth Amendment specifically for instances like this, but here's what ICE is doing. ICE is telling their officers, not in writing because they don't want this stuff to spread and get out there. They have like limited memos. So by word of mouth, they are telling people that if Donald Trump and his regime want someone removed from this country, that ICE now has the full authority to break down the door and to remove them and send them off to God knows where. And all they need is an administrative warrant. An administrative warrant that comes from like ICE courts. It's basically just someone with an ICE who's signing off on it. It's not like an actual court where you actually have to get a real warrant signed off. This is how they're getting around the actual process, and they've actually purged a lot of the legitimate people in these positions, and they're putting in these lackeys. I think they're even like, I've seen them hire people like off Twitter for this position. They're like, serve your country. They have that, authoritarian propaganda that they use, and they're putting people in these positions to allow this sort of stuff. They have these basically blank fake warrants that they create, and then they give themselves the permission to break down people's doors and whisk them out of their house. And so we've been seeing these images over the past a few months, few weeks, year, whatever, of ICE officers forcibly entering people's homes. And we're wondering on what justification are they doing this? Well, this is actually shining some light on the internal processes that are happening behind the scenes that are allowing them to do just that. And it's obviously incredibly illegal. This whistleblower said that one instructor has reportedly resigned rather than teach this illegal behavior. As I said, it's illegal in the DHS's own training materials, which is why they're doing it all by word of mouth. And the only kind of legal opinions that they are basing this on are legal opinions from the Trump loyalists who they installed inside the Department of Homeland Security. Because the previous attorneys, the actual real attorneys who were in there, would never sign off on this. So Trump purged them. Trump gets rid of them. He brings in these new fake attorneys, the same way he's brought in these fake attorneys everywhere else. These just political hacks to write a secret memo. It's a secret memo that says you have the authority to do this, that this is okay by the U.S. Constitution, even though it's not. It shows you that they know it's illegal because they're not letting anybody even read the memo. They're not even letting the agents or officers take notes while they're being told about the memo. They're trying to do this all in secret. They're trying to make this a secret, off the books policy where to allow them to go after people. And then I just want to point out one other thing. There was a little footnote on the documentation that was leaked. And the footnote suggests that ICE may actually have the authority to not only do this to people who have been ordered removed by the Trump regime, but to do this to anybody. So basically anybody is at risk. Anybody can just be sitting at home and then ICE comes in with a battering ram or kicks down your door or whatever and terrorizes your family. I don't know, these are all red alerts. I know we're dealing with red alerts day after day after day and multiple every day. But to me, guys, this is one of the biggest attacks on our Constitution from the Trump regime, from either of the Trump administrations. And this leak, I actually think, is one of the most important leaks and one of the most important whistleblower documents and testimony that we have seen ever.
Absolutely. It's all so horrifying. And that's why I keep just putting my, feet in the ground on this. This shouldn't be political. And by that, I mean, this shouldn't be a left versus right issue. What's happening right now with ICE using 5-year-olds as bait, just breaking into houses just cause, it's not right. At a core human level, we should want to step back and be whoa, I think things maybe are getting a little out of control. Huh? They're killing protesters. They're killing mothers. Yeah. And then you have JD Vance up there with all this smugness doing this double speak. And that's how I could just describe JD Vance every time. He has this certain smugness about him, which is just so incredibly off-putting. I know that's his whole shtick. He likes doing it to, I guess, irk people, but he's not an intelligent guy. He's not a smart guy. He just plays this weirdo victim-y type of mentality where he's always the oppressed one on the defense. And how could you guys not be looking at it from this angle? Come on. The whole thing to me, and I will always say it, Ben. I will always say it. This should not be a left or right issue. This should not even be a political thing. What we should all be collectively witnessing right now from a core human level in the United States that is going on with ICE, that none of this is right.
I agree with you with mostly all of you said. I disagree with you when you said that JD Vance is not a smart guy. JD Vance is a super smart guy, and he knows exactly what he's doing. And to me, that's what actually makes it worse. He's a Yale Law grad, and he's a chameleon, and he knows how to shapeshift and come up with different personalities depending on the moment, right? I mean, and he's had 3 different identities in his life, different names, and just overall different identities. I mean, growing up as a gay teenager, and then saying that he was converted to not be gay. And then he was the hero from Appalachia, even though he grew up in the suburbs of Cincinnati. I'm the hero of Appalachia. and I'm an anti-Trump guy. He called Trump Hitler. He was the guy. One of the first guys to call Trump Hitler was J.D. Vance. And J.D. Vance's kind of come up, if you will, was being the Appalachia anti-Trump guy. Trump's policies are going to kill people like me. And all throughout this time, just shifting names and identities. And then by the way, he worked with Peter Thiel. And then, lots of money went from Peter Thiel to J.D. Vance. And no one really knew what was J.D. Vance even really doing. Like, he wasn't like entrepreneurial. Like what was going on there? And then J.D. Vance, backed by Thiel, launches a Senate race. And then now he's the pro-Trump guy and he's ultra MAGA and he's adopted this whole identity. And he convinces people that all those other identities, from gay teenager to converted, no longer gay, to Appalachia hating Trump, to now ultra MAGA and hates immigrants, but he married an Indian woman and his kids are Indian. Just like the whole thing is utterly bizarre, but he knows what he's doing, and he's sick. He's a sick predator, and he's an abuser, and he knows how to manipulate. And when you watch him, he's using very manipulative tactics. And now he kind of shirks back as like this, I'm lovable. Come on, guys. What are we talking? I just want to help get the sexual predators off. What are we doing here? And then he'll go to another room and he'll say the exact opposite. So be very careful of JD. But be very careful around that guy. But contrast that to Jack Smith, someone with integrity, high moral character, who's lived a life of discipline and hard work, representing people his entire life. So here was Jack Smith at the hearing today. I've done multiple videos, so I don't need to show all the Jack Smith clips again. But here was Jack Smith during his opening statement saying that he stands by his decision. Let's play that one. And then next, I'll show you one of my other favorite moments with Congressmember Moskowitz. But first, Jack Smith.
As I testify before the committee today, I want to be clear. I stand by my decisions as special counsel, including the decision to bring charges against President Trump. Our investigation developed proof beyond a reasonable doubt that President Trump engaged in criminal activity. If asked whether to prosecute a former president based on the same facts today, I would do so regardless of whether that president was a Democrat or a Republican. No one should be above the law in this country, and the law required that he be held to account, so that is what I did. To have done otherwise on the facts of these cases would have been to shirk my duties as a prosecutor and as a public servant, of which I had no intention of doing.
Let me show you Congressmember Moskowitz, what he had to say during the hearing, highlighting the hypocrisy by MAGA Republicans. Let's play it.
I hate talking about the present. But you know what? Let's talk about the past real quick. Here are some quotes, because I heard one of my colleagues call you a hypocrite. Here are some quotes from my colleagues. Chairman Jordan, right after January 6th, stop the violence, support Capitol Police. Ted Cruz, those storming the Capitol need to stop right now. The Constitution protects but not violence. Chip Roy, today the People's House was attacked, which is an attack on the Republic itself. Steve Scalise, United States Capitol Police saved my life. Lindsey Graham, when it comes to accountability, the president needs to understand his actions were the problem. Troy Nels, oh my God, him again. I'm happy to stand shoulder to shoulder with Capitol Police. Darrell Issa, the violence and turmoil we witnessed in Washington, D.C. was completely unacceptable. Rep. McClintock, the attack on Capitol strikes the most sacred act of our democracy. And former Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, whose name we heard a lot today, what did he have to say about it? Let me be clear, last week's violence attack on the Capitol was undemocratic, un-American, and criminal. And make no mistake, those who were responsible should be brought to justice. The president bears responsibility. Period. Or exclamation point.
Exclamation point. And that,
the crazy thing was during this hearing throughout, you had all of these Republicans, their whole thing was rewrite the history of January 6th. It was honestly frustrating to watch and appalling to watch, because these people, there's no other conclusion you could really draw watching these Republicans in there, the questions they're asking, the way they're berating Jack Smith, other than that these people are just traitors who hate the United States, at least what the United States is supposed to stand for, and they want to take us into autocracy, and they're just bad people, just bad people. It's good versus evil. That was on full display today. But the biggest irony of it all is they kept trying to attack Jack Smith and try to get him to make some sort of admission that wasn't true. They kept going one person after the next. So admit that President Biden forced you to go after Donald Trump. So admit it. Merrick Garland said you need to arrest Don. Admit it. Admit that's what happened. And literally, while these people are saying that and making these accusations that are not true, Donald Trump on his social media app is telling Pam Bondi to prosecute people, is telling Pam Bondi to prosecute Jack Smith, is telling, and he's had a history of, in basically almost every single day, of telling his Department of Justice publicly via Truth Social post or verbally to go after certain people, whether the person is Don Lemon, whether it's Letitia James, whether it's, you name it, James Comey. That's Trump's whole thing, is weaponizing the government. And he's doing it in plain sight. And yet these projectionists are trying to act like that's what Jack Smith was doing. And that's what Merrick Garland was doing. And that's what Joe Biden was doing. Like, stop with the deflections. Like Jordy said, this isn't left, right, center, Democrat, Republican, liberal, leftist, conservative, MAGA. This isn't any labels. This is just like, could you accept reality? This is reality. This is good versus evil. Could you be honest with people instead of having to lie about every damn thing? Moskowitz crushed it in there. I'm happy he brought a reality check to the comments that those people made when these events actually unfolded, to just show how shameful they are in defending Donald Trump's actions today.
Absolutely. And the Republicans up there, you know, you look at the Jim Jordan, for example, and it's just, they're so over the top, so heavy handed with it, and just so intentionally disgusting that they're like trying to each audition for who gets the slot on Fox News later this evening. That's all they care about. They're like, hey, how can I get the best soundbite to make Donald Trump smile? Maybe he'll call me. And that's why they refer to this guy as daddy. Like, it's a weird relationship that they have with the president of the United States. None of this is normal, and don't be gaslit by those around you or corporate media into what we're watching, into thinking what we're watching, any of this is normal, because it's just simply not. And when you see it played out so perfectly, how Moskowitz, you know, just put his stamp on that, it's refreshing to see that there are folks out there that are willing to, you know, still fight.
A few data points I want to make sure I hit. First off, if you look at the generic ballot of independents only, and you look at, this is from Emerson, one of the top pollers, Democrat, 50% support for independents, Republicans, 28%, not sure, 22%. I think that from what we've seen in all of these special elections, that late breaking probably goes 80% to Democrats. So I think you're looking at, in a generic ballot, somewhere in the range of 70% or more of independents going to be voting for Democrats. And I think that's going to make a big deal at the midterms. And that number just continues to grow. The New York Times Siena came out with a poll. Donald Trump's approval there, only 40% on every issue. Donald Trump has massive negatives, some of the worst polling ever. And then Donald Trump's been very upset about how horrible the polling is. So Donald Trump starts going on social media and he's like, this is fake. I'm going to sue the New York Times. Just to give you some more gloss on the polling. Donald Trump's net negative 44 points on Epstein. His handling of Ukraine, negative 24, cost of living, negative 29, relationships with other countries, negative 19, Israel, Palestine, negative 17, the economy, negative 18. And by the way, when Donald Trump was in Davos, he's like, things are great right now in the Middle East right now. No, they're not. First off, you've betrayed our Kurdish allies in northern Syria, and the Syrian Democratic Forces have been all but destroyed by al-Jilani or al-Sharar's regime. He was the leader of al-Qaeda and now runs Syria, and ISIS prisoners have been let out. It's been the ultimate betrayal of the Kurds who fought alongside the U.S. to stop ISIS. Just yesterday alone, there were multiple journalists who were killed in Gaza and multiple other deaths of innocent Palestinians at the hands of Israeli forces yesterday. So more atrocities continue to be committed there, which is not.
But
getting
don't
enough.
worry, Jared Kushner was out there at Davos pitching his new plan for Gaza that he ominously calls his master plan. And it's like even shocking that he even uses that language, his master plan for Gaza. And I'm not making this up. I'll show the video listeners just the screenshot right here. Here's Jared Kushner's massive plan. He's asking folks in Davos to get ready and invest because he's got a new real estate operation that he's doing in Gaza. He's going to create New Gaza and New Rafah. And they're like these AI slop images of like a futuristic city that he has for each. That looks like that meme that shows like a futuristic city. Like this could be, the United States if X and X happen. If you guys know like the meme I'm talking about, that's what these images look like. And he's asking for investment. We need at least $25 billion to get started. And we need upwards of $112 billion in order to get this to where we want it to be. Who asked, and what role does Jared Kushner have? Who gave you the land? Who gave you the Palestinians land? I mean, it's a crazy thing that we are witnessing right now, where the president of the United States' son-in-law, for some reason, is now given the authority to carve up these pieces of land after they were decimated, after thousands and thousands of people were brutally killed, buildings leveled, homes destroyed, families ripped apart. Also that Jared Kushner could build a new fancy real estate development on top of the blood. This is like some sick stuff. I called it depraved earlier, but depraved, like there's no word that does it justice, just how vile this shit is. Right. And like, none of it gets enough attention. And I don't even blame, honestly, like the media or whatever for it. There's just so much shit on a daily basis that is just so horrifying, so evil. I mean, so cartoonishly evil.
We just touched upon Syria. We just touched upon Gaza. We touched upon Greenland. Like, we didn't even talk about Venezuela today, right? I mean, you could do a whole show on Venezuela alone with propping up Delcy Rodriguez and the fact that now the regime there in Venezuela has kidnapped a lot more opposition pro-democracy forces. So they claim to let out like 33 prisoners, but then they brought back in like 53 prisoners. And it's just been the ultimate betrayal to anyone who was hoping that there would be a democracy there. Trump opens up a bank account for himself in Qatar, and that's where so Trump sells oil from Venezuela to right-wing oligarch friends of his, takes the proceeds, puts it in a bank in Qatar for himself, for Donald. And that's where he wants the money that people pay to join his peace board, which he says he's the head of for his own life. And that money goes into a Qatari bank account. I also should reference Qatar as well, not just giving Donald Trump a private jet, but the 747 or whatever it is. But, in Jared Kushner's one real estate project that he really did, 666 Fifth Avenue, 666 or 666 Fifth Avenue, which changed its name to 660 Fifth Avenue. They didn't like the name 666 Fifth Avenue. But the Qataris bailed Kushner out of that. Like, that was his project, right, during the first Trump regime. And then remember, like, they did like Kushner supported a blockade of Qatar. And then the way that Qatar got out of the blockade was, many people suspect was bailing out Kushner from 666 Fifth Avenue. And now you have what you're seeing right now with Qatar being on that ridiculous board. You have Donald Trump suing JP Morgan. I'm not sure what's more embarrassing, frankly, though, Trump suing JP Morgan for saying that Trump was debanked, or JP Morgan's statement in response to being sued by Donald Trump in Miami for Trump claiming that he was debanked by JP Morgan. JP Morgan goes, "While we regret Trump has sued us, we believe the suit has no merit. We respect the president's right to sue us and our right to defend ourselves. That's what courts are for. We respect the guy's right to sue us." And by the way, Trump's opened up the Pandora's box there if he didn't have JP Morgan just completely rolling over, because Donald Trump saying that he was debanked, well, JP Morgan can say, great, well, we'll show you all the regulatory risks of your foreign entanglements and your tax issues and all of those things. And that's why we couldn't bank you. I'd love to see that trial go public. But I'm sure JP Morgan's not going to do the discovery that needs to happen. They're not going to be aggressive. They'll file a motion to dismiss. The case will get dismissed. we'll cover the dismissal. Donald Trump will appeal it. He'll say it was an unfair judge. And then Trump gets the headline of suing JP Morgan Chase for $5 billion. No one really covers Trump's loss. And then JP Morgan doesn't do the discovery it's supposed to do because they don't want to make Donald Trump mad. So that's the typical pattern that we see, like when Donald Trump sued the Wall Street Journal, when they did great reporting on Trump's letter to Epstein for Epstein's 50th birthday, right? If you were doing that case normally, the first thing you would do with Wall Street Journal is you would take Donald Trump's deposition right away. Go to notice his depo. Trump's never going to sit for a depo on that. You have a free depo. If Trump sued me, I'd notice his deposition right a freaking way. But instead, Wall Street Journal files a motion to dismiss. I'm sure Trump's case will be dismissed. Trump will go unfair, weaponized judge, wow, 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 I'm a baby. And then the case will get appealed and nobody will really focus on it. That's the MO here. And then Trump will raise money by going to his supporters. He's like, what Trump's recent email to supporters was like, do you hear my MAGA cry? And it's like, Ben, I've been crying all night. It's my MAGA cry. Will you please help me? And it's something. It's just utterly ridiculous.
One sec there, but I don't want to lose this on the JP Morgan thing, because this is just retribution for Jamie Dimon saying that he's not going to donate to the ballroom. That was a couple months ago. I forget the exact forum he was at, but Jamie Dimon clearly stated that he wasn't. He was scared of pretty much future prosecution because the whole thing just feels and stinks of corruption. So he said, we're not gonna contribute to that. What happens 2.5 months later? Trump sues the guy over something that happened 5 years ago. The timing of this is also suspect. To me, it couldn't be more clear why Trump has decided to sue him now. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree with you. Look, the whole thing is so clouded. I mean, $5 billion. Okay, Donald, $5 billion. His defamation case against Wall Street Journal is $10 billion. This is $10 billion. This guy is a clown. He is weak. He is pathetic. He is a clown. He is a horrible human being. Yes, he is evil. Jordy, when you were like talking about J.D. Vance, I wasn't trying to prop up J.D. Vance in any way, but there's a difference. Like J.D. Vance is a horrible human being and a total fake and a fraud of a human being who's very calculating his changes and he'll do whatever he needs to do to survive. Horrible human. Donald Trump is like the worst type of human. It's even worse, like in every level. And he's pathetic and he's weak. And it's just stop with this crap. Just stop it. And the world and the banks and the business leaders and our leaders need to just stand up to this guy. The people are standing. I'll leave everybody with this. The people are standing up to him. Look at what the people of Minneapolis and St. Paul and other towns and cities in Minnesota are doing. They're standing up to it. Part of J.D. Vance going there was because people are standing up and the regime realizes that it's also tanking Donald Trump right now because they thought they were going to be able to make the people completely give up. And no, the people are doing a general strike in Minnesota tomorrow or today, depending on when you're listening to this. That's what's going down. That's what's going on. The people are standing up. The people have been resilient where the leaders have been pathetic. And it's people power that saved the day. It's this community. It's you watching this and listening to that's been the difference maker. But for that, we'd be in a way more difficult time period right now. And I know things aren't easy, but the people have stood up. And I think that's a really important thing. And I'll leave everybody with that. That people power has won the day. So that's my final message. Brett, I'll let you give your final views.
Yeah, my final message is the same, that we need to continue to stay strong, that perseverance is half the battle, more than half the battle, quite frankly. I feel like it's 90% of it. They want to knock us down. We got to stay standing. And by the way, that's one of the reasons why we've expanded our coverage, in order to ensure that there are partnerships and we have people on the ground in Minneapolis to capture what's actually going on there so that they can't use AI images and all this other bullshit in order to try to use propaganda and lie to the American people. It's why we have a DC bureau right now with a congressional reporter in DC who's asking these lawmakers from both sides of the aisle the questions that you want answered, holding their feet to the fire over the top issues of the day, driving the conversation, driving the narrative, making sure that the voices of this community are heard. Right now, we all need to continue to speak out. We need to continue to use our energy and our voices and just stay in this fight. It's an honor to be here with my brothers to do this show and to be at this network and be doing these reports every single day. And it's an honor to be here with you, the Meidas Mighty. So thank you very much. Jordy, why don't you take us out?
Shout out to the Meidas Mighty.
The Meidas Mighty standing strong against the fascists. We sing our song. We will get it right whenever.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.